focused.
Here we go. Okay. It's all yours, buddy.
Is it filming now?
If you have any questions, just yell.
Can you start by stating your full name?
Richard Fries, Glaser, Glaser.
Thank you.
Okay.
What year were you born?
June 1st, 1958.
Where did you live when you became a part of the military?
I lived here in Jefferson City,
What branch of service were you part of?
Navy.
The Navy.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into the service? Were you volunteer, drafted?
I volunteered. I volunteered.
Why did you volunteer?
Well, a couple of reasons. One is I really didn't have anything solid on the outside, and also I always thought about going into the military. So that in 1978, it seemed like the right thing to do.
When did you first start to serve?
January 1978, I went to boot camp.
Where was basic at?
My basic was at San Diego, California, Naval Training Center, San Diego, California.
Where were you sent after basic?
After basic, I was sent to my specialist school to learn about radar. It's called Operations Specialist A School, and that's mainly what radar operators, radio nets, etc.
And where was that at?
That was at Great Lakes, Illinois.
So what was your job when you began military service?
Radar. I was a radar operator, radio net talker, etc.
Where did you begin your service?
I began my service on my first ship was at in Alameda, California, on the USS Mars. It was a combat store ship, AFS-1.
What was happening in the world when you first started to serve?
1978, there was still the end of the Cold War going on. Talk a little bit of the fallout from the Iran hostage crisis was still going. So there was a little bit of tension. You know, we were overflown by Iranian aircraft, so that was kind of interesting.
How long did you serve in the military?
I served 20 years.
What was the reason for you to not continue in the military?
I was able to retire at 20 years with a pension. I didn't see much else to go on. So it was time for something different in my life.
Were you part of any engagements?
I was off the coast of Lebanon during the Beirut Civil War. I was at that time I was on the USS New Jersey, and I was there unfortunately when the Marine Marines barracks bombings happened.
Is there anything else you can remember about that time?
Yes, I was actually on the radio net. It was about 6:15 in the morning. I was ready to go off watch in about a half hour, and they said New Jersey go to condition 1, which is the highest condition. So they manned the guns. They put everybody at general quarters. We didn't know what was going on, and then we heard the Beirut, the barracks got bombed, and then I was on the radio net, so I heard the casualty counts mount to over 200, maybe 247, something like that, and it was really troubling.
What do you remember most about all of your time of service?
Two things. One is that I was on a battleship, and we actually fired several rounds into Lebanon, and so that I will never forget, the battleship. The second thing is I remember that after the Cold War stopped, I was on the USS Ponce in 1994 and 1998. It was an amphibious ship, and we were able to go up in the Black Sea to places that, if the Iron Curtain had not fallen, we would never have been able to go to Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, which were ex-communist countries. So those probably are the two I remember most, and there was other things, but those two really stand out.
What qualities do you believe you carried from your service into your everyday life?
I believe that one thing is I hate to be late. I never want to be late. I am always on time or early. So that's one. Another thing is if you're going to do a job, do it. Don't make excuses. Do the job. Do it properly. And that's another thing because the Navy did not tolerate slackers. You do it, you're assigned, do it right.
What any other memories from your time of service that you wish to share?
Yes, we went to Israel, and I was able to go, to Jerusalem, which was, really fantastic. I saw the Church of Annunciation, I saw Masada, I went to the Dead Sea. Also, when I was in Italy, I went up to Rome. So history is something that's really dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
So those two items, were really outstanding that I was able to go there in my lifetime and see these things.
Was it easy to readjust to life back at home?
It was a little bit challenging for when I got out of the Navy. It was a little bit hard for me to get a job originally, and I finally landed a job. There was a lot more freedom for if you're on a ship. And, for example, one time I spent 110 days at sea off Lebanon in New Jersey. So you only had what they served you on food, where you could sleep, the books they offered in the library. When you get out of the Navy or the service, you have a lot more choices. So that was kind of a little bit of adjustment. Plus, I would still dream about the Navy occasionally. So the freedom was a little bit more because you're regimented in the military.
What parts of coming back were your what did you enjoy about coming back and what did you not enjoy?
I enjoyed about coming back was I had a freedom to travel. I love traveling. I love seeing things, or my weekends weren't like, okay, here I am on a ship, we're out to sea. I had my weekends off. The part that was hard, of course, was trying to change over and readjust.
Did you ever get back together with any of the people you served with?
Absolutely. I went to mainly the people in New Jersey, my division. We have a division reunion every 2 years, usually in Las Vegas. Actually, one guy named Kevin Montagna found me. He called me, and I saw this, and I was like, I don't recognize this number. I decided to answer the phone, and I hadn't seen him since 1984, and he reconnected with me about 30 years later. So every 2 years we go to a reunion. I also participated in another reunion in Norfolk on a ops department reunion from the people on the USS Charleston. So yes, I have seen them. Occasionally I run into some of my shipmates. One gentleman named John Johnson came to visit me a few times. It's very nice, reminisce, talk, reconnect. It's great.
So you enjoy being with all of the people you served with?
Yes, absolutely. These people also served. Some of them did have issues after they got out of the military, and some of them it was nice to reconnect after 30 years.
What are some of the life lessons that you've learned from the military and your service?
One thing is never. If you get an opportunity to do something, do it, because you may be thinking about something, and in the military you could, a shell could have hit the ship. I could have been dead. People at the barracks, if you have a chance to do something, do it. Don't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow may be too late. I've seen other people. I lost shipmates. I lost friends, through accidents on ships. So never put off tomorrow what you can do today. Just do it.
Did your service impact how you felt about the military or war?
war, unfortunately, is necessary sometimes. It really is. You know, there's times I don't agree with all the decisions made in the military. Some of the things that happen, I don't. But yeah, for example, the second Iraq War, I never agreed with. You know, I couldn't see it. Yes, he was a despot. Yes, he was this, but we have opened a whole new can of worms. They're just finally starting to settle. So, but I support. Some people don't understand why. You go to war. Sometimes, unfortunately, war is necessary. You know, you got to defend yourself. You just can't let people dictate what you're going to do or live in terror. If sometimes they say good defense is a strong offense. You know, they say, hey, you're not going to push us around. So, yeah, I guess so.
Is there anything else we haven't discussed that you'd like to talk about?
Military is a interesting career. It can be challenging, and it's just I don't know much else, but it can be a challenging career. It can be a good career. You can visit a lot of places other people dream about, and you're there. And I've heard people say, hey, I'd like to go to Italy. I've been there. Just look at me like with a little bit of envy because they want to go to Italy. I've been to Italy, so you know.
Was the challenge of all the training worth the
Yeah, the effort,
Mm-hmm.
the challenge of the training, yes. A lot of people, the days at sea were long. You know, sometimes I did 18 hours straight at sea. And you'd get off 6-7 hours, and you have to come back because you got to eat and everything. So it's all life lesson. I would say the training was very good. That can be stressful too, the training, but
Yes.
it's life. You get what you get into it, what you get out of it. If you don't put anything into it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
When you were in service, did you keep touch with your family back home?
Yes, I would. There was 3 ways to do it. On the ship. One way was to send them an email, basically, or I guess it's more like a gram. Another way is on the ships they had satellite phones, and my aunt said it was always very interesting because the ship would rock at sea. So you get on the satellite phone. The satellite phone was $2 or $3 a minute, whatever it was. But she could always tell when the ship rolling because when the ship rode, she lost me. And when it came back, she gained. So that was another way. Of course, letters were very important, and anybody in the military appreciates a letter. So yes, letter, text, grams, whatever you like to call it. We're not as modern as they are now. So those are the 3 ways we kept in contact.
What did you do with your family whenever you got back home?
When I came, I was not married, so when I came, which is another thing. If you're married in the military, sometimes it can be very stressful because, for example, when I was on a ship, we would do 6 months deployment, which put a lot of pressure on the family, and sometimes that family would integrate. For me, it was easier. I was single. I was a little anxious when I first got out because it was a transition part. So I reconnected with my mom, my dad. I reconnected with my aunts and uncles. I never really lost, but I was able to see them again, not just maybe occasionally when I came home.
Okay. And you brought pictures to share?
Oh, sure. These were some. Turn this way, turn that way. Doesn't matter. Sorry. Yeah, these were some of the recommissioning of the battleship New Jersey. And that was December 28, 1982. What was really neat about it in this picture, you can see that it was actually President Reagan who actually came to the commissioning of the ship. So that part was really neat. And that, of all the things I went into, being on a battleship was probably my most... it was the most meaningful. Other ships were great, but the battleship was good because I never thought I'd serve one, and Reagan came along and he recommissioned them. So yes, the battleship was probably the best, for me. The food was great. Yes, we did spend 110 days at sea straight, but it's part of the military. It's what you do. So yeah, I did bring some pictures, some recommissioning pictures, different items, but that was probably plus. We also visited ports like Singapore, etc. So we were able to go out into the cities and really explore them, and it was really kind of neat. Plus, the missile shots, like this was the first successful Tomahawk missile shot, so I was able to take pictures as I watched the ship fire it. So that was a first for the military. That was the first successful one. Now they're perfected and just second nature.
So was it interesting to be a part of all of that first?
Absolutely. We were off the coast, we were listening. I remember when they fired the missiles that everybody was standing and cheering, and the captain was very impressed that everybody was sitting there cheering, because he's like, oh man, because we could know that this was the next era. So yes, being a first, or when we fired the guns in a combat situation, that was the first time the guns on New Jersey's been fired in anger since the Vietnam War. So yes, it was something. The papers were saying all this, and we were part of it. And of all the ships, when I wear this, and I don't wear it that often, but when I wear this, people will usually come up to me and say, hey, you were on New Jersey. One guy said I was on Vietnam. I was a spotter for the New Jersey. Someone else will say I served in the Korean War, and so it's just like a family.
So it opens up a lot of more possibilities to meet people.
Absolutely. There was one time I was in an antique mall in Rosebud, Missouri, and I was walking through, and I went in the back, and I heard someone asked the owner, where'd that guy with the New Jersey shirt go? I thought, I'm in trouble. 'Cause someone doesn't usually ask you that. And he wanted to talk to me because he was a spotter in Vietnam for New Jersey. He was on land. He spotted the shells coming in. He adjusted them. And so, yes, of all the ships I was on, this was the ship that is most recognized, or the most. It made an impact.
So do you enjoy meeting new people and talking about the experiences you shared?
It's funny. You should mention that when I first came out of the military, I had a friend. We were dating, and it shocked me because she said, "You never mentioned your military career," and to me, it was just a part of my life that happened, and I didn't really realize that I was not, mentioning it. And I was like, "Oh, what would you like to know?" It's happened. It was my life. It was something that I think a lot of people in the military get the same way. My uncle, for example, was a fighter pilot in World War II, and I didn't know it. And finally, at the end of his life, he shared with me, but he also was like, oh, it was my life. It happened. He didn't really talk about it. I didn't realize I was not talking about it, but after I opened up, then people found it very interesting.
So do you enjoy talking about your experiences?
Absolutely. I do now. When I was earlier, of course, I did not. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't. It's just I didn't realize I wasn't sharing. But now, yeah, I do.
Is there anything else you'd like to?
I cannot really think of anything. I pretty much ballpark covered the military. So.
Any more pictures spark any memories?
Let's see. Crossing the line ceremonies. That was really interesting. This picture was taken of a Russian aircraft that was called Bear Bomber. Mm-hmm. It overflew us. This is a common game people worry about, which kind of reminds me, worry about the Russian ship off the coast. That's been happening since the 50s. But it's more publicized now. But yes, the Russian, the crossing line ceremonies, sites I saw. So, yeah.
So you talked about the Navy having strict guidelines and limited choices. Was it easy to adapt to those limited choices when you first started?
I know some people that really had a hard time. You know, they were going to flaunt it regardless. Other people, I think, okay, bottom line is, I think it depends on the personality of the person. If they're used to, you know, they know what they're getting into, and yet they'll push it to the limit. And those people will usually end up captain mast, maybe in the brig, you know, arrested, whatever. Haircuts was a big thing. I used to flaunt that. I did not like it. Now all of a sudden I got short hair and I don't mind it. At the time I let my hair grow long, then they tell me to go get a haircut. So depending on the person, I think the personality. Some people really had no trouble following other guidelines, and other people always pushed it to the limit. You know.
Did you have like any recreation choices on the ship?
On the ship, we had a library. They would have movie night. They would have, oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. They would have what was called a still beach picnic. It would be in holiday routine. You'd be out the ship. They would bring, you know, like, they would bring like the barbecue sets out in the bridge, and they would cook the food. So it was called Still Beach Picnic because the ship was a still. You're not going to get on a beach, so that's the closest you can do. So Still Beach Picnics are really a morale booster. You know, hamburgers, chips, soda, beer, especially only on certain occasions allowed on the ship. So usually you would just drink whatever they had or eat. But the food choices were limited, you know, not in the Still Beach Picnic, but in general.
Was it hard being on the ship during like holidays or any important days?
Yeah, like I miss, like when I was in Puerto Rico and then I found out my great aunt died. There was no way I was going to get back to the funeral. That was hard. You know, like I can't remember, I think I was in Norfolk and they had a family reunion at my house in Jefferson City, and I missed it because I couldn't get there. So that was kind of hard not to see the family. You know, so yes, there was times it was very difficult.
But you still enjoyed your time in the Navy?
Absolutely. Like I said, you know, I've been to a lot of foreign countries I would have never seen had I not been in.
Did you do anything in those countries?
Oh, yes. I would take tours. I would go, for example, there was a tour of the Rome. I took the Rome tour. There was tours in Spain. I went to Costa del Sol. I would take, you know, which is, you know, Costa Sun, excuse me. My Spanish is not real good. But, you know, beautiful beaches. I would go up to Barcelona. I went to Pompeii, you know, which got destroyed by Vesuvius years ago. Had I not been there, I would have not seen them. And of course, in Romania, Ukraine, Bulgaria, went through the Opera House. I went on tours. So yes, if you ever get in the military, take advantage. They're offered and they're very reasonable, and you're already in the country.
And you got to do that with your fellow servicemen?
Absolutely. Yeah, they would get groups together. From, say, in France, there was a group of people I spent a day with family in France, or they would do tour groups to different places that was sent up by it was called the Welfare and Rec on the ship. Welfare and Recreation, excuse me, on the ship. So they would get these tour groups together and they would offer them. For example, maybe you go to Masada, or maybe you'll go to Rome, or maybe you'll go up to Barcelona, you know, different places, different things.
What was the most memorable tour you went on?
I think two. One is to go through Pompeii and look, you know, because that city basically was frozen in time. And the other one was the trip in Israel where went to the Dead Sea, went to Jerusalem, went to Bethlehem. Now it's very hard to get into Bethlehem. It's just not as safe as it used to be. Saw Masada where they stood against the Romans. So those two tours were probably the most memorable of all the ones I've taken.
Is there anything?
I can't think of anything.
I'll go get Miss Oliver.
Oh, sure.
Our technician has left us.
Oh no, isn't that the way?
Looks like we'll just have to talk some more.
Oh, sure. What would you like to know? Anything else? Or any questions you got? I know you're probably running out of questions. Or if you want to talk about something else. I don't know. We're still filming?
We're still filming. I don't know how to work the camera.
Oh, bummer. What happened to the technician, though? Okay. How many, okay, well, let me flip it on you. How many have you interviewed?
You will be my only interview.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you'd done.
We get to interview one person.
Oh, I see.
Not that many people signed up, so.
Well, I told my brother about it. I knew he could Skype. I don't know if he called in or not. There was another man that was a B-24 pilot in World War II. I wish I would have got his name because he would have been really interesting to talk to. I mean, he did it when the war was going and flak was flying and aircraft were trying to shoot him down. So, yeah.
So would you enjoy all the time you get to spend with your at those reunions and?
Oh yeah. Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
We were ad-libbing a little bit after.
We have like a minute or two of
Ad-lib.
Good. You're good then?
Yeah.